Raw Men **** Frontispiece Raw Men by Frank Richardson Pierce Self-preservation is not the first law of nature, according to Mr. Pierce, who knows the Arctic at first hand and who offers this fine story in support of his contention. The blue-eyed Swede spoke briefly in dialect to the greasy Eskimo. The latter peered ahead where the inexorable drift of the ice pack was slowly wiping out the blue lead. The trading schooner was drab, ice-battered and unromantic, but her holds carried a fortune in furs. The shore was dangerously close, piled high with shattered bergs where the pack had grounded. Little short of a granite mountain could withstand the grinding pressure of the pack, and even granite had been scoured away so that in summer the cliffs were overhanging the sea in spots. The man-made thing of planks, cordage and paint was less than an eggshell when pitted against the floes, and so the Eskimo considered many things before he spoke, then he grunted in dialect. He showed no fear, nor did the Swede who peered from his frosted parka hood and gripped the spokes of the wheel with mitted hands. All others were below except one. He seemed detached from the scheme of things. He neither gave orders nor obeyed them, but stood forward, with feet apart, a big, handsome man with more than a trace of character and refinement in his face. He cursed, not the floes nor the sluggish progress of the schooner, but his father. His eyes blazed with the fires of resentment in the same fury of 3 months ago. The last words of his father were still ringing in his ears, "You're a selfish young pup. You've failed as a son, you're failing as a man. That means I've failed as a father. I'd rather have succeeded as a father than as a businessman. I can't learn you nothing, maybe if you rub shoulders with life you'll learn something. I wanted to make your row easier to hoe than mine was. I made it easy, and that's my mistake. I tried to get under your skin, but never could make it, so we've hated each other at times. That's bad business for both father and son, to hate. It's the father's fault. He's failed some way. My lack of education, and what you once called a lack of appreciation of the finer things in life, rubbed you the wrong way. I'm sorry, but I can't help it. I gave you the wrong course, the craft was wrecked. I'm trying to salvage enough from the wreckage to build a new vessel. Bear a hand, won't you, son? Businessmen's associations, chambers of commerce, people who had done things, were glad to learn something from old Walton, but his son was not. Because he did not know there had been a wreck, he had not offered to lend a hand in his salvaging. Rather he regarded himself as a fine, trim craft steaming through the murky waters of his father's association. In a word, he was something of a fool. There had been no scene, though the elder Walton could raise his voice loud enough when he was aroused. Dick Walton did not believe in lifting his voice in anger, and so his attitude had been dignified, well-bred silence. The rest had been simple. He had been sent aboard Hanson's schooner with certain papers. Hanson had glanced through them, made a face, cursed inwardly and shoved off on the Arctic trading expedition. Dick had the choice of going along or jumping overboard. Hansen told him he did not care which course he followed. Walton ignored the danger on every side as he watched the schooner's progress. It was Hansen's business to get her through the floes and into open water. Walton reflected bitterly instead of lending a hand. Crazy ideas, the old man has. What can a Swede with washed-out blue eyes, or a filthy, greasy Eskimo, teach a college-bred gentleman? They are of the old man's school, mine is different. We show the stamp of our respective schools. He was silent a moment, regarding the Swede and Eskimo. Wonder how mother ever came to marry the old man. She has refinement, background, everything, while father, all right enough in a rough-and-tumble brawl, but, a sudden shock threw Walton to the deck. The schooner's bow leaped upward with a terrible grinding of ice against the armor of iron. Shattered bergs spumed up from the boiling sea as the schooner hurtled the barrier into the lead beyond. The engines stopped racing, once more the craft forged ahead. Consider, he said to himself, the Eskimo. He is greasy, filthy, drinks ripe seal oil, and I have seen him eat clams from the stomach of a walrus. His code crushes the weak. Self-preservation is the first law of nature, but it is 10,000 years removed from mine. He should be civilized and no mistake, but the fact remains he is a savage. What can he teach me? Nothing, unless I wish to drink seal oil. Consider that Hansen. Colorless, silent, a bahunk from which an educated man can learn nothing, unless he wishes to sail a schooner or scrub decks. One by one he considered the men with whom he had rubbed shoulders the past few months. Queer creatures, all, even the little old Dutchman who spent his life in the engine room, where the air was always blue and foul from burning oil. The engines seemed eternally on the verge of falling apart, but by merely a laying on of hands, old Schwartz always contrived to make them respond in the pinch. Of course, if one wished to become an engineer, Walton never entered the engine room. It was too dirty, greasy and practical. The Eskimo spent hours there. Below were stowed baled furs now pleasing neither to nostrils or eyes, but which eventually were to know the rarest of perfumes and grace the shoulders of soft and lovely women. Walton groped about mentally seeking a lesson in transition, some comparison between raw furs and raw men. There was none. The furs could rise to great heights. They began on the backs of slinking wild creatures, and ended with God's greatest creation, woman. But the men were plodders, born to their lot, wresting from life whatever they could with bare hands, never to rise above themselves. It was unfortunate, but it was life. Left to his reflections, Walton might have plucked from the cold Arctic air a line of philosophy that would have gone down in history as a classic. He was groping for it, when the greatest crash of all again sent him to the deck. The schooner trembled and crumpled from the mortal blow. Walton fought and clawed his way from the wreckage to the floe. There were men below in the forecastle, but they died silently. The blue-eyed Swede burst from the wheelhouse and tore the covering from the narrow, squarish opening leading down to the engine room. Old Schwartz was down there with his rheumatism, stiff-legged, unable to climb a ladder. A bit of blue haze came from below as the Swede disappeared. The screaming of the splintering schooner was like some living thing dying in agony. The greasy silken cap worn by the engineer protruded just above the hatch an instant as if he were being lifted from below, then disappeared. No cry came from the hatch as the craft went under, just a final puff of blue smoke. The old Dutchman and the colorless Swede died in silence, men of the sea. Shattered bits of wood amid shattered ice was all that remained of the schooner. The food, shelter and warmth that had been Walton's a few minutes before, had vanished. He stood on the ice unarmed, without food. Strange words came from behind him, startling him into the realization that he was not alone. The greasy Eskimo stood there, muttering in dialect. His words, "Men die and you live," meant nothing to Walton, but the glitter in the native's dark eyes placed him on the defensive. Then he laughed at his fears as the Eskimo's thin frame was racked with a cough. No danger there. If they reverted to the primitive, he could tear the miserable wretch apart. Again the Eskimo repeated, "Men die and you live." At the native's feet lay a section of walrus skin, sufficient to wrap one man warmly. In his arms he held a skin filled with seal oil, rancid stuff that would sicken a white man, though an Eskimo could live on it for a time. An ivory-headed spear was slung across his shoulders, and somewhere beneath his parka he carried a knife. Against this was Walton's pocket knife and his youth. Which would survive? Walton knew the answer, neither. But one would go like a savage, and the other would go like a civilized man. He resolved he would remain true to his teachings, his code, and not become a beastly savage. The Eskimo wasted no time in sorrowful reflection, but started over the ice, hugging the sealskin bag to his breast, dragging the walrus hide behind him. Dick followed. In the past few minutes he had experienced a change. He had seen raw men rise to great heights of courage, and die in silent bravery. The colorless Swede could have saved himself, throttled the Eskimo with his bare hands and taken the skin of oil, the walrus hide and the spear, and with them food, warmth and protection. With the spear or without it, he could have beaten Walton to his knees, for he was a physical giant. Instead, he had given his life for another, and greater heights no man can attain. Before him Walton bowed in humble silence. In the slow progress over the floe, Walton again reflected on the different codes of the two survivors. The code of Dick Walton protected and cared for the aged. The primal code of the Eskimo was self-preservation, the first law of nature. Like the majority of civilized people, Walton did not know of the strange code more ancient than that of self-preservation. Alone, Walton would have fought his way to the ice-armored shore. The Eskimo ignored it and crossed the floe. As aboard the schooner, he considered many things, then leaped to a small berg. Unconsciously Walton found himself considering the skin of seal oil, and wondering if he could drink it. Of course the native possessed it, along with the ivory-headed spear and walrus hide, but he was aged and weak, while Walton was young and strong. Age must sleep some time. Walton leaped to the berg. Neither man spoke. The berg floated alone in the blue lead, fringed by floes on three sides. Hour after hour, the strange pair huddled in the scant protection of a small ice hummock while the berg drifted. The Eskimo drew the walrus hide about him to break the wind, seeking access to his age-weary limbs. The spear lay on the ice in front of him within reach. He continued to ignore the white man, yet it was apparent he tried to read his thoughts. Walton found some solace in his pipe. His tobacco pouch was nearly full. The matchbox had been refilled that morning. Hours dragged slowly, but darkness came too soon. Walton had read that men freeze to death without realizing what is taking place, but he found the cold aroused him even when he dozed. Then he would leap to his feet and stamp about until warmth was restored. He was desperately hungry, but not hungry enough to drink seal oil. In any event, when starvation drove him to the point of drinking the nauseous stuff, the Eskimo would have finished the last of it. Day came, sunless. The sky was overcast with the dreary grey of a casket. The native stirred slightly and leaped to his feet. The calculation he had made the day before was correct. The berg had become a part of another flow, the vastness of which the eye could not measure. The Eskimo squirmed cautiously to the highest point in the immediate vicinity, then as cautiously returned, his eyes gleaming, the spear gripped tightly. He grunted in dialect, and glanced about, then Walton understood. A polar bear had sensed their presence and was making his way to them, hunting instead of being hunted. The native gripped his spear tighter as the bear drew near. It was an ordeal a strong man would have shunned. "Give me your knife, it's our only chance," cried Walton. "We've got to eat." Suspicion flashed into the dark eyes. He waved the white man aside. Walton picked up a block of ice. "I'll do what I can." Again the native waved him back, then crawled toward the beast in an effort to gain some advantage in position. In a twinkling Walton had been thrust back into the ages 10,000 years. He watched the impending struggle entranced. The Eskimo steeled himself, gathered together the last ounce of strength in his withered frame and put it all in one vicious lunge of the spear. The ivory head drove deep to a vital spot. Blood gushed down the heavy white coat. The bear roared in pain. The spear was jerked from the Eskimo's hands as the brute turned, snarling, to attack. The native leaped backward and slipped swiftly down an icy slope to vanish on hands and knees. The bear pursued, leaving a red trail. Driven by hunger of the raw man to do what he could to bring down the raw food, Walton followed cautiously. Presently the native emerged, crawling, each movement a slow and painful effort. He had put his all into the single thrust. The effort had left him helpless, and he would have been an easy mark for the white man. The spear was in the dying bear, Walton recalled. Thank God, I won't be driven to forget I'm civilized and prey on a miserable Eskimo. We've got bear meat now. He cried out aloud in utter relief. He had slipped fast during the past day. He was ready to eat raw meat from the kill, and hunger pangs drove him to risk attack from the wounded bear. He made his way along the blood-stained trail to the spot where the beast had disappeared. Water lapped at the ice below him, water stained crimson. The bear was gone. Fate had denied him even raw meat, but there yet remained a skin filled with seal oil. A struggle of the codes went on within him, and the code of raw men had an ally in hunger. He was slipping back with each passing hour, he knew it and fought it. From time to time he glanced toward the withered native. The spear no longer lay on the ice in front of him, but he hugged the skin of oil even tighter to his breast. Walton caught himself plotting a route that would take him behind and above the Eskimo. Devils of his imagination whispered it would be easy. The native was unarmed save for a knife, a futile thing against a block of ice dropped from above. He's run his race. The end is near, the voice of self-preservation whispered. Your life is before you. You can do much for the world, for you are civilized and educated. Take his clothing for warmth, and his food for life. He is but a burden. It was as if a voice had spoken aloud, and Walton's protest came from set teeth. Damn it, I'm civilized and I can't. Several times during the day the Eskimo explored the ice in quest of a seal or bear. Each time he returned as silently as he had departed. He continued to ignore Walton. The white man had once referred to him as a greasy, filthy Eskimo. Toward night the tip of the great floe broke from the main body of ice. The Eskimo watched this without emotion, though it reduced their chances of finding game. Walton lighted his pipe, lest he go mad. In it, particularly in the fire in the bowl, he found solace. The Eskimo took his first sip from the seal oil. Self-preservation came to him in his dreams the third night, awakened him and remained. He was bitterly cold, needed additional clothing, while his whole being cried out for food. As before, self-preservation pointed the way. Walton muttered aloud, I can't. I'm civilized. Mine's a different code. We care for our aged to the last. We don't strangle and rob them. Self-preservation jeered, of what avail is your civilization now? Will the few dollars in your pocket buy food? Can your education kill a bear or seal and provide you with meat? The books you studied might furnish you warmth now, if you could burn them. You are no longer civilized, you are a raw man seeking food. The miserable wretch who holds the food is done for anyway, he sleeps, so why not? Ah! I knew it. At last you heed me. As animals stalk their prey, so Walton crawled over the ice, nearer and nearer the figure huddled in the gloom. His coat was behind him, he was about to kill, that he might survive a few days and perhaps be saved. Schooners were coming out of the ice. It was while hurdling the last barrier that their own craft had been crushed. Now that he meant to kill, he found himself debating on the method. Would it be knife or hands? His pocket knife might do the work. Still, the native's knife lay on the ice a few inches from the sleeping figure. Walton's heart pounded as he possessed himself of the weapon. Its blade was long and keen, and that settled the debate. The knife, he whispered. It's quicker. It'll be over within an instant. He would have to ration the oil over a period of days, and not drink it all tomorrow, for there would be many of them. In the half-light the blade seemed ghostly white. It fascinated Walton, then filled him with sudden repulsion. He dropped it, his hand stayed by the thought of blood. Blood, red, living, leaping from an animal, was one thing, but a man. His hands reached for the native's throat, hands strong, powerful, even after several days' fast. He had removed his mittens and now felt the bite of the frost. Then he touched the fur of the Eskimo's parka hood. The throat was closed now, and still the Eskimo slept. Walton's fingers curved, then his hands dropped swiftly to the shoulders. Good God, man, wake up and save us both. I'm trying to remain a man. The native's eyes opened without fear. He spoke quietly in English, even kindly. My son, I am awake. You speak English. When I wish. I cared for one of the first missionaries who came north many years ago, preaching of the white man and his God. He told us of his code, that cared for the old. We killed ours when they could no longer withstand the frost or follow the tribe. For a lifetime I have wondered about this code, and what would happen when a white man hungered. He taught me English, but he could not make a white man of me. My code is different. It is a better code, for the race. I have read that self-preservation is the first law of nature. That is not the truth. There is a nobler code. Self-preservation is the second law of nature. The first law of nature is race preservation. Through it humanity has survived, even my race. It governs the civilized races even today, for parents give their lives for their children. But my people are nearer to it than yours. When the food is low, it is the aged who starve, that the worthy young may live and reproduce. Thus it has always been with my people, thus it always will be. During the long months on the schooner I watched you. You called me filthy, greasy. I wondered. You were the best educated man I had ever known. You spoke like the books I read from, yet you were not a man. Hansen and Schwartz were men. Civilization baffled me. Age should give forth wisdom, and leave curiosity to youth, who must ever learn by experience. Strange that I should be curious at my age, but I wondered which code would prevail, your code or the code of self-preservation. I watched your struggle. The outcome made little difference to me. I've run my race, the end is near. Tonight I knew you would come. I was afraid of your little pocket knife. The blade would not go deep enough, so I left my own. A knife thrust is nothing. Thus my father and mother died, when he could no longer hunt, and she could no longer chew walrus hide and soften it for garments. You came nearer and nearer, and through half-closed eyes I saw the struggle in your face, and never did I see greater. You dropped the knife, then reached for my throat, a withered column of skin and muscles that you could snap with one of your strong hands. I thought you had gone back, and waited. So this was your code, after all. Then, you called. Walton nodded thoughtfully. Yes, I won, or my code did, for a time. For all time. May I smoke your pipe? The missionary taught me that tobacco soothes. Walton filled and lighted his pipe, then handed it to the Eskimo. Thanks, my son. Walton remained silent until the native returned the pipe. The bowl still glowed. Fire. That was what he craved next to food. Again he found solace in the glowing bowl. The Eskimo placed the skin of oil at Walton's feet. You thought you would never come to it, but you will. You will even gnaw the skin itself. The walrus hide came next, then the native slowly pulled off his parka. Walton leaped to his feet. Hold on, he cried. What are you thinking of? We are different, each man's code prevails, my son, replied the native. Your race must go on, even as mine. You are young and worthy. Hell. Walton jerked the parka back on. Let's stick it out together. And anyway, I won't be missed, and don't worry about my race not going on. There's over 100 million of them left, and they'll get along somehow. Gently he pushed the old man to the ice and wrapped the walrus hide about him. Stay right there, old-timer. I'll take a sip of the oil, if you don't mind, though. He put the skin to his mouth and withdrew it abruptly. I can't do it. Walton lighted his pipe and propped himself against a convenient block of ice. The wind could not reach him, he would be comfortable until the cold got to him once more, then he'd have to leap about a bit. He closed his eyes and found strange peace and contentment, for he had measured up to the standard of his breed. More, he had at last found himself. He was too late, of course, and he wouldn't be missed much, except by the folks at home. If there was only some way of getting word to the folks, he mused. As it is, they'll always remember me as I was. They'll never know what happened, and father will go down to his grave, never knowing that what he did was right. The pipe clattered to the ice, as Walton at last fell asleep. The Eskimo reached forth and finished the pipe. Then he stood up and wrapped the walrus skin about the sleeping white man. He shivered as he stripped off his parka and placed it with his mukluks on the ice. Presently his naked feet touched the ice, the frost-laden wind nipped at his wrinkled skin as he made his way to the flow's edge. Water, black and dreary, surged about the flow, waiting. That the race may go on, he whispered. My code holds throughout time. God help the lad. Walton was warm when he awakened. At first he could not understand. He must have slept long, because the sun was shining somewhere behind the southerly arc of that leaden sky. There was protest on his lips as he crawled from beneath the walrus hide. "Now, I say," he began, then he understood. The skin of seal oil, the pitiful furry pile of parka and other garments, the stiff muclucs, told it all. Except for the single sip, the skin of oil had been untouched. The native had starved with him, then left him his all. Walton made his way to the water's edge, taking the trail trod by naked feet not many hours ago. He looked thoughtfully at the water as if seeking means to convey that which was in his heart. "Greater loveth no man," he began, then dropped to his knees. The water lapped desolately at the flow as if to claim it and that which it held for all time. The breath of the Arctic nipped spitefully at the exposed parts of his face. "O God," he cried, "make me worthy of the sacrifice of a man." Provisions aboard the trading schooner Sealth were low, but her skipper ignored that as he picked his way through narrow leads into the very jaws of the pack. It had been 10 years since Madison had been rescued from an iceberg, and he had never forgotten it. Veterans of the Arctic shook their heads in doubt as they glanced from the icy fangs of the floes to the grim figure in the wheelhouse. He was reckless at times, daring, but never had he seemed to cast discretion to the Arctic winds. Always he was lashed with the thought that if he went a mile farther into the ice, his quest might be successful, that if he turned back, he might leave fellow humans to perish. The man in the bow fending off smaller bergs with a pike pole cursed, for his parka hood was frozen where the moisture from his breath had congealed. One mass larger than the others loomed up. Beyond that, man could not go, unless he was fitted with wings. And then, the man in the bow dropped the pole to the deck. Forgotten was his frozen beard as he cried out and pointed dead ahead. Ice was knocked off from the blocks and falls, and a boat gotten over the side. Madison stood in the stern, steering. 2 held it to the ice while the skipper and 2 others leaped to the floe. Out in the lead the mate was already maneuvering the schooner about for the southerly flight. "Old Walton's kid," muttered Madison. "Looks about like I did when they found me. He'll live. Lucky thing the old man radioed me to take a look." He picked up a bit of gnawed skin that had once been fashioned to hold seal oil. Except for the extra pair of muclucs, all clothing was on the man. The muclucs had been gnawed at the tops. The ancient code, reflected Madison. "That the race may go on," whispered the rescued man painfully as in a dream. Madison nodded. Transcriber's note: this story appeared in the November 1924 issue of Blue Book magazine. ******* End of the Project Gutenberg ebook Raw Men ****** Updated editions will replace the previous one, the old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start. Full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works. By using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg, you agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Trademark Symbol Electronic Works 1.0. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg, 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark symbol website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works provided that you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4, Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. 1.e.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f1.f.1 Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2 Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages, except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the Foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3 Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4 except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3. This work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5. Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, and c. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark symbol's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark symbol and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a non-profit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's IN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, UT 84116, 801, 596, 1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment, including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways, including checks, online payments and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the US unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks.